everyone. Welcome back to Reddit Affair Diaries. How's your day going so far? I hope it's been great, but if not, don't stress. You're in the perfect spot to relax and dive into some juicy relationship stories. There's always something new and unexpected waiting around the corner here. Before we jump in, leave a comment and share something good from your day. Let's keep the good vibes going and start this story together.
This Reddit story come from the r/true off my chest, where OP's wife spent the night with another man. Sorry for the long post. I will try to make this as short as I can while giving as much relevant information as possible. I've never posted on Reddit before, but I've been lurking since this happened. I'm hoping hearing some words of advice or support might help. It's been about 3 weeks since day when I found out my WW of 20 years cheated on me when she had a night out drinking with some colleagues from her previous workplace. We are both in our 40s. So far I've not found it any easier to function with the feelings I have and still feeling physically unwell with headaches, stomach discomfort, tight chest, short of breath. Backstory. We recently sold our house to move closer to the city and teenage kids' school. Our relationship hadn't been very good for a while, and we were both not treating each other very nice and had agreed to separate for a bit with a view to reset our marriage while my wife rented with the kids and I chose to stay with her father. One of the kids actually asked why we were separating and was it because of cheating, and my wife told them, no. If something like that happened, we wouldn't be planning on getting back together. The plan was to buy another house within 6 months and move back in together. It was after 2 months apart, although still seeing each other almost every day, that this happened. During this time I worked hard on myself and did all I could to make our relationship better. Taking her out on dates, inviting to go for walks, tidying her house, cooking dinners, etc. That night I kissed my wife goodbye as she left and told her to have a fun time. I stayed home with the kids. She ended up coming home around 5 a.m. hungover and I took care of her. She told me they all went back to one of her colleagues' house and she ended up asleep on the couch. From the way she was acting after that night, my intuition told me something had happened. It took a couple of nights, but she eventually come clean because I kept asking questions. She told me if I hadn't have kept asking, she would never have told me because it meant nothing and she knew how hurt I would be. When she came clean, she told me that after she had been dropped back off at home around midnight, instead of coming inside, she called her colleague and asked if he wanted her to come around for romance, and he agreed. She walked into his house. They kissed and undressed while making their way to his bedroom, but stopped before having romance because she felt sick and knew what she was doing was wrong. He also has a girlfriend that was away for the night. She ended up laying naked with him all night and got up and left in the morning. I'm told they did nothing else. I know how ridiculous and unbelievable that sounds, and obviously my trust is gone, and I didn't accept that and thought she was just trying to minimize. But after many conversations so far, I think maybe she might be telling me the truth. Not that it makes much difference. She laid this out all at once and the story hasn't changed. She hasn't trickled any more details. She acknowledges the fact that she had every intention of romance and that not having romance doesn't make it any better. After I found out, she was very remorseful, guilty, knows how hurt I am and is certain she wants to reconcile and be with me. She admitted there was no seduction involved on his part and that it was entirely her decision to do this, and she can't give me any explanation as to why she did it. She says she doesn't expect the AP will try contacting her again and that she will tell and show me if he does. She has never tried making excuses or justifying and says nothing like this has happened before and assures me never again. We've always had access to each other's phones and are always checking locations to find the kids, etc., and nothing has raised any suspicions in the past. I'm so broken and can't make sense of my feelings. I never reacted angrily towards her and have decided to move back in now to start our because I felt so alone and was afraid I might hurt myself sitting alone every night with no one to talk to. I was clear that if there was anything else she needed to tell me about then, I needed to know now and not find out later. Once again she told me nothing else had happened. I never thought I would be willing to stay together if this ever happened to me, but now it's real. It's not such an easy decision to make. Nobody else knows what has happened and the only support I have is from my WW. She has organized CC which begins in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking now though moving back in has made her think I'm feeling better, and I get the feeling she has already begun to move on while I'm feeling no better about myself at all. We talked about it a lot to begin with in the first couple of weeks, but now she's told me she doesn't want to keep talking about it because she hates what she did and doesn't want to keep remembering. I've agreed not to bring it up all the time until we start CC. Once again, I feel I'm working to make things better, and I'm not getting as much from her despite how badly she wants us to work things out. I'm the one that's been betrayed and think she should still be trying to show me how sorry she is. I'm very confused and don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get over this. I still can't go more than several minutes without thinking about what she did and replaying it all in my head. I didn't think she was capable of doing anything like this. I don't love her any less, and I want to be able to forgive and trust again. She tells me she wants to be with me because she loves me, but I'm afraid it's more to do with the kids and convenience. She has told me she understands if I feel the need to tell anyone else about what's happened, but I think that will just add to my shame and humiliation. Happy to hear any thoughts or advice to help me through how I'm feeling right now. Relevant comment by Reddit users. After she had been dropped back off at home around midnight, instead of coming inside, she called her colleague and asked if he wanted her to come around for romance, and he agreed. She walked into his house. They kissed while making their way to his bedroom, but stopped before having romance because she felt sick and knew what she was doing was wrong. He also has a girlfriend that was away for the night. She ended up laying on bed with him all night and got up and left in the morning. I'm told they did nothing else. I know how ridiculous and unbelievable that sounds, and obviously my trust is gone. Your wife initiated romance with an ex-coworker. You are an adult and know that two adults don't sleep together all night long without doing anything. If she were truly remorseful, she would have gotten up and left to go home instead of lying with him all night long. She can fool you, but don't fool yourself. That's the saddest thing one can do to himself. You will become a dried-up husk of a man if you pretend and go on with reconciliation. Life is short, so ask yourself whether you really believe her and want to continue with reconciliation. You know that wasted time is gone forever. Comment, nah, I don't believe a woman in her naughties would just lay there after staring at the house at midnight, then calling a colleague. I think she went straight to his house, and the whole story is just damage control. You would think she would have got up, got dressed, and walked out. She knows damn well why she chose to go home with him. She wanted the forbidden tool, and sorry if this comes across as nasty. She's clocked you a long time ago. She knows how to or tries to work you, and because of your state of being, you've given her the green light that she has you. Comment, OP, she said she would understand if you wanted to tell people. You said you don't want the shame and humiliation. There has to be consequences for her actions. Make her tell both sides of the family what she has done. Two adults don't kiss, take off all their clothes, and lie shoulder to shoulder all night. Yeah, makes sense to me. Nah. OP, will your wife be willing to take a lie detector test of her events of that evening and early morning? Update me. Our next Reddit story is from the r/infidelity subreddit, where the OP discovered his wife cheating last night. I met my wife in 2011. I was DJing a social event at school and playing some 90s rocks. I was playing Third Eye Blind, and my wife liked the song that came on. She talked to me, we bonded over our mutual love of the band, yada yada, we started dating. Fast forward to 2013, we got engaged and we took a trip and to celebrate. We have this memory we talk about a lot of listening to the whole Third Eye Blind catalog and singing along to all the songs together. We got married that year. Fast forward through our whole marriage, we had this thing where we would try to see the band as much as we could. We saw them whenever they were on tour, a total of 9 times during our 9 years of marriage. Last night, we were supposed to see them for the 10th time. If you're the math in your head, we've been married for 10 years as well. That's coming up in November, so I had this whole thing planned where we would go see the show, stay over at a hotel, have a romantic night. I get home from work on Friday, my wife is getting ready. She looks amazing. I see a text come on her phone. You know how the rest of the story goes, I don't even want to type it. She met some guy the night before when I was away for work. The part that killed me the most was she wrote that he needed to get condoms, and he's LOL. So I'm left wondering, did they even use any? What does it matter anymore anyway? After reading that, I just left the house and started for the concert. She calls me about 15 minutes later like, where are you? Oh, just on the way to the show. What? Why? You know why? Think long and hard as to why I might be acting this way. I just hang up. Anyway, I think I was in shock still. I was pretty cool about it. But there's some backstory there I don't want to get into as to why I was prepared. She's cheated twice before in the past. I didn't really have any emotions at the time. Actually, when I started typing this was the first time I felt anything. So she calls back and starts going through the motions. Oh, we are just friends. Oh, we didn't actually do it. Oh, I was drunk. Oh, it was just in a little bit. Then it was all come back and let's talk about this like adults, as if I'm the childish one for having stormed out. I'm thinking, no. If that happens, I'm not seeing this show. We're just going to talk about how she cheated and she's going to try and seduce me, and that thought grossed me out. I never thought about romance with my wife and felt gross. But then I did. So I got to the concert and the guy scanned my ticket. He looks at me and says, "There's two," indicating that he wanted to scan the other one. I just stared at him blankly and said, "Yes, there's two," and went inside. I was so weird. I felt like I was hypnotized. And then there was the show. Amazing show. I had a good time. I met some nice people in my row and we had a fun time enjoying the concert together. Some lyric hit a little differently. I've never been so alone. And I've never felt more alive. I felt pretty alive at the concert. I danced with the crowd and screamed my frustrations into the loudspeakers. No one could hear me over the loud rock music. It was over pretty early. I wanted to sit at the bar and drink, but that would have required talking to someone, and I just couldn't outside of the context of the concert. I was thinking about the texts again. So I went to the hotel I had booked for my wife and I, and went to sleep alone. I woke up to about 30 emails. She was up all night feeling all kinds of emotions, I guess. Guilt, shame, anger at me. Those were the most surreal, the ones where she was mad at me for going through her phone. A lot of bargaining and pleading. The worst was she had sent me cards I had written for her years before. Anniversary cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards. I always handwrote a letter for her, professing my love for her. I never used to write anyone cards like these, but I did for her. She used to write cards like these for me. She hasn't in a number of years. I think her intent was that upon reading the cards, my heart would soften and I would realize how much I loved her. I would come to my senses and come to her, and we would talk it through and I would forgive her, and it would all be better, but instead it just made me realize how much she doesn't love me. At this point, I can't forgive her. I forgave her once and here we are. If I forgive her again, it's just a matter of when, not if. I'm back in the same scenario, writing sob stories on Reddit. The only question now is whether I respect myself to make sure this never happens to me again. Relevant comment by Reddit users. Actually have her served divorce papers at work. Attach a card onto the rolled-up divorce papers with a rubber band. The server put the package in her hands. The card should simply say, "It's a wrap." Response by OP. Would be sweet, but my wife doesn't even have a job. Part of the problem, she has too much time on her hands. Comment. She has a rude awakening coming. He ain't paying the bills. Life is gonna crush her. Don't take her back. Move on to the 180/Grey Rock. Will drive her nuts. Response by OP. I expect that she'll be homeless if her parents don't take her in. Or some clueless guy. But she's got to be able to find someone other than a boy for that plan to work. This is partially my fault for enabling her. But at the same time, during our separation, my hope was that she would learn some of these skills on her own. A sort of sink or swim situation. She definitely sank. She did not handle it well. But we got back together and here we are again separated. So there's nowhere to go from here but apart.